everybody, and welcome back. We're getting ready to go into game number 2, and honestly, a dominating start from Team Geo there. The question is how can Los Heretics bounce back from this?
Yeah, I mean, it is a pretty big question, I think, for them now. Why did you kick like that? You're such an idiot. For them being on blue side, I think this is where things can maybe change for them, right? Draft, it just, let's just come out and say it, it's not a secret. Blue side is just a bit stronger than red side, it seems like, statistically.
And also just outside of that, I mean, you can look at it in terms of that kind of arrangement, and also just look at the team you're playing. Team Geo are the topside tournament at EMEA Masters, and they played a topside draft with the cannon, which they continue to pick and continue to do well with. Now, if you are planning around this and you said, okay, we have a counter strategy prepared, that's not worked. Now, maybe you can think it's because of the level 1, maybe you can think it's because of some micro executions in later game team fights, but now you have that blue side, you have a chance to maybe take a different approach to it. I don't particularly want to see that counter pick in that Jarvan towards the top side. I don't think it worked out well for them.
No. I agree, and I will continue to echo the sentiment that I started and that Aragon continued on the AD. It's just a bait pick. It is just really, really bad. I think if you're going to go something like Jarvan, you might as well just go on. Like, generally, it's going to kind of do a lot of similar things.
Ragnar's done his duty on duty. He was a brave man. Are you asking Ibo to do the same?
To be fair, look, Ibo was the guy last tournament that kind of just shut up all of the very powerful laners inside of the top side from the last EU Masters. So it's not like it's outside of his wheelhouse. It just felt like
he did it on Sejuani that time.
He did it on Sejuani as well. It just felt like for Heretics, they wanted to go down this Jarvan route. It didn't work out. If we do end up seeing Team Geo get their hands on the cannon again, I think we just need to veer away from that Jarvan lane counter.
I'm going to be interested in what the changes are going to be in the picks and bans here. So first ban on that Xayah, immediately coming out from Heretics. To me, that says that they don't want to play Xayah Rakan. That is just completely done for them. We've seen Marlon looks quite good on that Rakan. In fact, he looks very good on that Rakan. So maybe that will stay open.
Well, I think when it's on blue side Xayah, I think it's not about playing the Xayah Rakan. It's just that if you're giving both Xayah and Rakan over to red side 1-2, they're going to get picked up. Typically, we see that. And often we've seen teams not some teams will take the handshake and say, we'll take the Xayah or the Rakan, and you'll get the other half of it on that second rotation. But at that point, there are typically better first picks as individual champions. Stuff like the Vi, which is currently unbanned right now. We've seen Maokai have a lot of high priority. Typically, we've seen some top lane blind picks as well. Be also fairly important in previous metas. But as we've seen, the bans are starting to change around a little bit more. Team Geo actually banning away Lissandra, which has typically been Zwyroo's kind of champion to be anti kind of Ahri Vi, hammering in that mid lane and kind of keeping them pinned in lane.
Yeah, so I wonder if there's kind of an extended thought process here where they're trying to bait them into that Vi Ahri combo and then they have something actually as an answer. We'll see what Team Geo are cooking. This is the block as well. So now, again, you know, it's kind of a continued... Now the mid lane priority pool is starting to look a lot more, you know, Ahri favored. There's the Vi. So what do Heretics want to open up with? Zeri's available. They want to get Flakked that. Jayce is obviously out. Sejuani for the next rotation there as well. Wukong for Lyncas, something he used to play a fair amount of, and he's been playing for a while.
Do you want to ban it? Well, do you want to take away the Sejuani at this point? Saw how powerful the Sejuani and the Jayce could be as a combo together. We've all seen the Maokai be very powerful too.
Honestly, what I wouldn't mind seeing is just, if Ragnar's down, which he should be, is actually just match the top side, go Ken and go Wukong. Screw the AD carries, you always know you're going to get a good one. If they really want to pick up Jezu's Zeri though, I think it's fine also. It's Zeri, you can't really go wrong. But I feel like you probably just want to pick up your jungle here just so you don't give away the next best thing.
And at this point as well, this is where the Vi ban starts making a lot of sense, right? Because typically, Zeri is very, very good if you're not playing into that Vi, because the Vi has that kind of guaranteed lockdown. You already called out Wukong. Right. Wukong works really, really well and kind of being this kind of half initiator. Now maybe you're actually thinking about picking up a Rakan or something a bit more initiating for yourself on maybe 3.
So that's the decision. Do you want the Rakan or do you want the cannon? That's basically it. I think Heretics are probably going to forego it because they need an AD carry and they don't want Flakked's pool to get pinched. Jinx is being hovered, Jinx is being locked in, and at the very least now for Heretics on this blue side, they have a lot better objective control with the Jayce and with the Maokai at the exact same time, a lot of poke, and potentially that can get things going for Flakked with the Jinx on today's stages.
Yeah, you definitely got Outrange running right now. We do have the interaction, which has kind of been very prominent in the meta right now, is that if you throw the Maokai ult out, the Wukong clone can tank up one of those tendrils. Now, Malphite can just ult through the Maokai ult.
Now, there is also one thing. Team Geo lost one game to memory in groups, and it was actually to Malphite mid AP. I can't remember what team it was that did it, but it was pretty funny. Oh, I'm thinking of Aegis, actually. Either way. It was a French team that lost the AP Malphite. I wonder if they...
Well, so they did lose against the Malphite. It was just top. It was just top. Northesis Famagusta. They played around that Kindred.
They somehow lost with more... Yeah, anyway, that aside, I wonder if they would be willing to actually just keep the Malphite where the Jayce is, just because that is actually a really good one-to-one matchup. But generally, when you have something immobile like the Jinx as well, the Malphite just kind of rises in priority. Now, given Team Geo's bans, that says to me that they are going to throw this into the top side, and they don't want to have to deal with not only AP matchups in the top side, but also just kind of a double ban over there, just because Silas, if that Malphite is a bit scary.
Danger now is Ivo picks up Gwen. Gwen is the matchup I think could really threaten Team Geo. You already have a lot of stand and fight with outrange on the side of Heretics. If you're jumping in with the Wukong and the Malphite, and then suddenly Gwen's throwing a needlework onto your backline with, you know, a lot of champions which can get queued up, I think that could be a really important pick from Ivo. He's played that before. That would be the pick which I'd go towards for him.
Yeah, you're right.
He also has his Gnar.
He does also have his Gnar. I feel like Gnar kind of maybe struggles one-to-one into Malphite,
Yeah,
but if you're looking at like a team fight composition, then maybe you care a little bit less about the matchup. But it is one that can typically be so rough that you would like to veer away from it. We'll see as a Team Geo go towards the Gragas, so it's just more displacement, more dive potentially, but just more non-committal tools, which I feel like you really need when you've already got the Wukong plus the Malphite.
What this also does now is, because one of the things which Heretics did really, really well, typically in group stage, was kind of playing through Zwyroo kind of locking people into lane, kind of making sure that Zwyroo could have a really good time while his opposing member couldn't get out on the map. If you play with Gragas and Wukong, if you ever blow flash against that Jayce, he is a dead mid laner. Having a little bit of extra safety on board, with Marlon picking up the Thresh, which is a roaming champion, you can still allow him to do that, but then also have a bit more defensive impact in the game. It could be very important to keep Zwyroo safe.
Yeah, now let's see where this Jayce is going, because you can see the matchups already.
I want to see Gwen. I want to see it.
You called the Gwen. I think it just makes the most sense. And I'm kind of worried for Team Geo, because even if they go something like Blitzcrank, great. Gwen can kind of maul through all of these champions. They kind of have to one-shot it, otherwise it just wins.
This is the one time where Scissors beat Rock.
Yeah. It's true though. It is kind of a bit of a weird scenario now where I feel like no matter what Team Geo go, they can have a good matchup on the bot side. They can have this potentially very explosive 2v2 in the mid jungle, but they have to use it, because if Ivo gets online and in this kind of matchup he should fall free, I think he just takes over the team fights almost by himself.
This is going to be a very, very intricate game, particularly around choke points, I feel, because whenever you have a Gragas, a Wukong, you got that Renata flowing through as well, they have huge value. If you fail to catch the Jinx or you fail to catch the Gwen, your team fight's pretty much over at that point though. So Team Geo, a lot higher burden of execution it feels like in this game, particularly into that late game. Maybe with the Sivir and the Jayce in their first game, they had an easier time of it. Heading through into the second one though, I really like what Heretics have got if they manage to stand their ground and escape the initial engage.
I will say, the one thing I do like about Team Geo is they do just have like headbutt fight buttons where, like, you know, it's very easy to just headbutt your keyboard with a Wukong.
Play-by-play mentality.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, like, obviously there's a very intricate side of it, but there are elements of, I think you're completely right, it's those chokeholds. If you're out in the open, then yes, Gwen has space where she can maneuver around. But if you're walking through, you know, an area as a group, you get hit by the Malphite, you get hit by the Wukong, you get hit by the Renata ultimate, the fight's done. If those 3 ultimates hit in a row onto multiple people, the fight is done at that point. But if there's space, you're completely right. Ivo is going to be a terror.
Absolutely. And not only that, I think generally just choke control for both teams and just being at the objective first, right? Because if you're talking about the side of Team Geo, it's about being there first so you can control the chokes. And if it's the opposite side for Los Heretics, it's actually about just being able to watch your opponents walk in and poke them with the Jayce, with the Maokai, with the Jinx, those kind of things. Allow Ivo to then potentially just see where his opponent's coming from and actually set up for a good angle for a flank.
So what that tells me is that we've got a bit of a through line from the first game, which is Heretics and discipline. It's about getting to those objectives first and making sure that you have that vision control, not flubbing the opportunities which you get at that point. If you make those mistakes and your Gwen W's down, your Jinx is out of position, your Lantern's not available, Team Geo, they have executed more than readily enough for that.
I think we're in for an absolutely banger game number 2 as we're on to the Rift. Team Geo have 1 win under their belt already. Can they push it to match point here? Or are Los Heretics going to find some steam, find some gas in that tank, and get themselves the win. So we are onto that rift.
One thing which I particularly love coming out of this as well, of course we talked about the implications of this draft, but one thing which is really cool, it's just very different from that first game. When you see the likes of the names of Duke, Jezu, of course, Peter Dunn helping. If you ever watched, Heretics do a really good YouTube series based on how they've played around their main team in the LEC and then also the Superliga team as well. They're very interconnected. All of those big names as well have histories in the coaching department. These organizations have themselves some histories as well. Heretics are a team which claimed 2 titles in their time in the ERLs. They've had 1 Superliga title last summer, and then of course the EU Masters title of summer as well. Team Geo, formerly Gamers Origin, they won a couple of titles back in 2020, looking to go back to days of yore for them under a new title of Team Geo.
New title, same objective.
Win.
Win.
Hit the Nexus. That was Orcs' greatest advice to me, was just hit the Nexus. I'll always remember that.
Forehead, just hit the Nexus. So we'll track where these junglers are going for the early stages, as they're both on the bottom side. Pretty sure bluerzor was spotted as he started up the camp, so Team Geo will have a good idea of where bluerzor is starting, not necessarily where he'll be going. Krugs, then to red, just to extend the duration when he's actually potentially actively on the map. But also just getting those first, camps that aren't spawning every 5 minutes up faster for more XP. Definitely feels good if you end up just kind of full clearing on repeat to stay in the game.
Number one thing I'm looking for, particularly from Team Geo in this early game, is can you get rid of that flash on Zwyroo at some point? Because Jayce, as a champion, he has flash, he gets to push in. Very good into very good into Gragas, very good at kind of taking over lane, getting advantages and running with it. You blow that flash though, very vulnerable champion to this mid-jungle 2v2.
Yeah, it definitely is. It's actually a combo we're quite familiar with because LNG really used it well in the LPL. It was just Tarzan and Scout just completely manhandling every 2v2 that they could find. Just because they're so much
Let's not talk about playoffs to them then, huh?
No, we won't talk about playoffs. It didn't happen. Didn't happen, but Lyncas on a 3-camp clear up towards top side, and he just took a tower shot, which is definitely going to help out on the side of Team Geo. He can, but I don't think it's going to matter.
Oh, you say that. Ghost being popped. He's trying to dash away. Lyncas able to connect him with the Q and get some of the slow. Flashes forward, and that's it. Ragner finds first blood. No surprises. There was a bit of top lane attention in this game.
Yeah, you want to try and just curb Ibo's ability to actually have impact in this game. As you can see, actually, by the way, 4 CS on Ragner. He was not having a good time out of the first couple of waves. Flashes burn on both Lyncas and Ragner for that kill, though. With Ibo having no ghost, however, a return attempt in the next couple of minutes should be pretty high value yielding.
The one thing, which I'll give as a bit of caveat, silver lining, is that you've used 2 summoners topside, and one of them, of course, being from Lyncas on that jungle, which means that it's going to be a lot harder to potentially punish something like that Jayce. We saw what Jayce could do in the hands of Team Geo that last time. Of course, very important to get that Gwen down, and I do agree that's public enemy number 1 for Team Geo, but if Jayce gets to now have an extra degree of safety, that's still something which Heretic can maybe leverage.
We hate seeing that Gwen is immune. So we will make her no longer immune. His Team Geo's thought process.
You know what would be quite funny is if we have like the Gwen is immune and then like someone gets bailed out by the Renata on the other side. It's like, you have immunity. We have immunity to death.
True.
The one-up.
Yeah, that's
It's pretty okay, huh?
It's one of those games where it's, plus that, the kids where they're like increasing the difficulty or the strength of something. That's basically what it is. The playground games, yeah. That's exactly what it is. Does actually look like Lyncas is maybe looking to set something up on the bot side, but he's been seen out by this ward, so...
He's protecting the crash.
Yeah, I think he's protecting the crash, but also just generally, Lyncas kind of knows that his job here is to try and impact the lanes as early as he possibly can, and as we've all learned by now from Maokai over in the LEC, Catchback XP is just broken. As top side, bluerzor.
Yeah,
no flash, but
No cares either.
Can I do the voice? I want to do the voice.
Go on.
He just stands in front of him and just dance.
He did a lot of damage. He did, to be honest.
So it's Thorin's Ring, Dark Seal, Q-Max, Comet, Scorch. He's got 3 points in it as well, I assume. So it's like 200 damage.
That's a good point, actually.
At that point.
I mean, I love Dark Seal as an item. I haven't seen it that much on the Malphite. Interested to see what he does with this.
Honestly, Malphite's AP scalings are so good
Hilarious.
that generally...
Silas loves this.
Yeah, exactly that. Generally, it's just good to pick it up. If you're playing Malphite and you know you're going to have a good game, which in this kind of game, a lot of very easy targets to pick on. If you feel like you're not going to die, picking up a little bit of extra damage goes a long way.
Oh, coming in with the flash, they get the flay onto Jezu. Hook's gonna get flashed away by Kamilius. 2 flashes burnt on the bot side there.
And it's also a flash blown by Marlon, but he has the Hex Flash. So that's an extra ability to get bush control and potentially fly forward with a Lantern and a Hook yet again to punish Jezu and Kamilius. So actually, for one of the first times we've seen from Heretics, a bit more attention towards his bot side. Of course, Flakked, even in that loss last game, had some hella good late game damage numbers.
Yeah, now what I'm actually thinking about is the Dragon and where that's going to go and who wants to prioritize it. Because to me, Team Geo, with Gragas and Wukong, you would imagine that they actually want to skirmish for it a little bit more through the mid-jungle. But now with the bottom side of Jezu and Kamilius not having flashes, it maybe makes things a little bit more vulnerable, and that gives Heretics the window to actually push through the bottom side and gain access to it. We'll see where these 2 junglers want to go. For now, Lyncas is up on the top side, just protecting Ragner potentially. I mean, there's level 6 here, and there's Biscuit, so he's going to have enough mana for a full combo. But I think with that ward being placed down, they just go, you know what, never mind, this play is probably a bit of a dud. Don't want to look for it, and also means that potentially bluerzor could have rotated up there and been there for the match.
So it's a little bit more quiet of an early game compared to game 1. Team Geo had a very good level 1 read on Heretics in that game 1. Credit to the scouting there. The analyst has called that one out. It's worth calling that back again. Level 6 is hit in this mid lane. Zwyroo does have that flash though, importantly so. Again, Jayce with flash, very different champion to when he doesn't have it.
Yeah, very much so. Now Heretics, again, because we saw that wave crashed in on the bottom side, it was then repushed by Team Geo, and then Heretics repushed it back. They've got Pyro down there, and this could give them the window that they need to pick up this Dragon. There's no level 6.
What's this choke point? The Maokai sapling's down.
Exactly.
Geo don't want to walk in through that if they can help it.
Exactly. No level 6, but the sapling should be just about enough. They're going to start it up, but Team Geo, they're collapsing around. That's
Big old hook there onto Kamilius, and they are just down. Dragon, that's going to be a freebie.
Yeah, we said very vulnerable. Anybody on the bottom side trying to face check that with no flash after the ganks from earlier. And Heretics, very happy to just pounce for the play. They'll get the first Dragon, Chemtech, so it's not going to be the Soul 2 games in a row, thankfully. But the Hextech is the next one, so unfortunately that's not the Soul, sad.
Yeah, so this is kind of what we're talking about, choke point control, getting a really good blueprint of what could potentially happen later, because even those saplings are enough of a setup onto flash the targets to absolutely blitz them out of existence.
Yeah, really big one on that front. Also saw Flakked stay. He didn't even bother rotating over. He stayed in his bot lane, just catching that farm.
My minions need me.
Yeah, exactly right. I mean, he's got a coal. It's his turn. He's the one with the coal now. He wants to just scale. He wants to just get as much farm, gets a plate for himself there off the back of that as well. You know, Flakked, he was that shining beacon in that game number 1. The problem was everything had just kind of slipped away way too much for him. This time, it's not gone bad. This early game has gone, you know, it's as good as it can be for both sides. They're both okay with this current setup. And Heretics, they're able to find a punish. Now, Flakked, once again, does find himself without Marlon, which is a pretty standard thing. Marlon is, you know, very roam-centric and is actually looking to help his team for this Herald.
Grass, green, water makes you wet, Marlon roaming. Who would have thought? But now, this is a collapse from Team Geo, and they might get it.
They are able to take that one away there. That's been taken away by Team Geo. The rocket's coming in on the Lyncas' clone. A hook comes in from Marlon onto Toucouille as well, as they have nowhere to go. We are going to see the flash forward there by bluerzor onto Ragner. He gets himself knocked up, slowed, and Zwyroo should just be able to finish this one up. A triple kill over to Zwyroo there. An absolutely killer start for Heretics.
Feels like it's going to be the Jayce show today, folks. We saw, how many kills was it last game? 17. The second highest amount of kills we've had in a single game of this tournament. In any other tournament, it would probably be the most, but getting a triple kill at that point, Jayce is so good with that extra gold. This is a huge moment now. I get that you want to stop this topside snowball, but this is committing way too much and not finishing those kills.
Yeah, you know, it kind of looked all right at the very start before Lyncas actually getting the steal away. It levels him up and it gives him the Cyclone. The simple fact of the matter, though, is Heretics had more numbers here. It's a 4v3, and they're able to just try and bully their way through. Zwyroo gets 3 kills on this exchange, and given what we saw out of Toucouille on his last Jayce game, you expect Zwyroo can return that in kind.
And it's not even like, again, you blow the flash on the Jayce. Keep returning back to that, because again, that's one of the big things you can do with the Gragas and the Malphite. And the continuing question that Geo will have to ask themselves is, can we catch all of the targets we need in these engages? But that flash up makes it much harder.
Have you seen those items right now? There's a Tear and an Aptome on Toucouille. There's an Eclipse onto Zwyroo. He is a...
I raise you one big belly.
One big belly.
One big belly.
All right. Well, he's not actually here for this fight, and it does look like Ragner does not want to get his hair cut. So he is just going to walk away from that one.
Does Malphite have hair?
He might.
I don't want to think about what the implications of that.
Moss. There you go.
All right, yeah.
That's the wholesome ending.
Thank you. I was about to be like, what does Rock hair look like? Maybe he's like takes up like hair sculpting in his own time. That's how you'd have to do it, right?
I don't know where to go with that. Like, where do I take that?
Let's go back down this bot lane because he carries on screen. Call about to be popped by Flakked. Flakked has been having the time of his life, not having to worry about most of this game, and that has been typically a kind of a method for success for Heretics, particularly because Flakked, again, once he reaches multiple items, very important. Aibo having a similar time on his top side, finally left alone in this lane to have himself an extended run of things.
Yeah, it's one of those things, however, where if you don't actually have a lot closer to lethal where you can force Ragner back with the ultimate, it just feels like a bit of a dud exchange overall, where you feel a little bit worse for wear. And Ragner will still have the ultimate if Lyncas decides to make a play, struggling to get there towards that top side. And given where the rest of the map is right now, it wouldn't be too surprising to actually see Lyncas just cross-map the top side once this dragon spawns up, simply because the bottom side of the map for Heretics is so powerful.
Another thing we should have to note as well, in case we didn't cover it, the Herald was stolen, of course, and it's picked up by Toucouille. Now, one of the things we talked about Zwyroo on the other side, in terms of that lane matchup, what has Zwyroo been very good at this tournament? Locking his opponent in lane. Now, pray tell, how are you meant to use a Herald if you're just stuck in your lane under your turret? It feels like Toucouille might just have to have that one in inventory. Dragon's up in 40 seconds, might be able to use that as Dragon counterweight, I like to call it. Kind of use that as everyone kind of moves down there. Has to teleport back into mid lane. Let's see what he can do with it.
It looks like the setup is already coming in, and this is the big thing. It's that chokehold, it's that control coming up to these major objectives. And the Maokai sapling's doing a fantastic job, but in comes that big belly you were talking about into the Cyclone. He flashes over, but Lyncas is ready and waiting. Gets himself a shutdown, 700 Gs in his pocket as Marlon, he does not miss a hook. Lyncas will go down, lanterns up, and they fire back.
Marlon's him, doesn't miss on the hook like that, and he will stop Lyncas on the retreat. Now, Herald's going to get popped by Toucouille. I think just trying to maybe draw the attention of Heretics, but I think this one just gets killed on the spot for it. A little bit awkward. Could have also been timing out. I think the Herald takedown was actually on spawn, so I think just has to try and let it go through. But for Heretics, even though they lose Zwyroo and that 700 gold shutdown does go into Lyncas' back pocket, they'll pick up the second dragon and they'll go towards that early soul snowball. See what they roll in the end as well.
Yeah, it's fairly telegraphed coming in from Team Geo, but they don't end up getting nearly enough from that play as they would have liked Marlon. He doesn't miss it again, and he's got a lantern.
He is just so good at finding these hooks. Everyone, Toucouille, you get the belly pop onto 2, you have no cast though, you have no options to escape, and they give Flakked the kill. That's his first of the game. Honestly, Marlon he has been seriously impressive. His Rakan flank in that previous game, I don't think he's missed a hook at all this game.
Not that I've seen.
Not unless he's like deliberately just throwing them out to kind of keep his stats down.
He's actually waiting until he's on screen. You know, he actually has.
Yeah, he never hooks.
Yeah, even he just never hooks. Even though you know, there's big delay for competitive integrity reasons.
Oh,
he doesn't care. Oh, hello Ragnar. Yeah.
Oh, Aibo, he might be in some trouble. He's got the monkey coming in. Lyncas is going to keep the damage up, but there's that immunity. Gwen is immune. Clears through the wave, but another wave's coming in. Ragnar's taking a couple of tower shots here, and Aibo, with the Ghost on, is desperately trying to get away. Skipping off. He has no backup. Gets caught again by another Q. He's just on the run. He's pulling everybody away, though. The long scenic tour through. The smite comes down, and Lyncas finds the kill. Actually, it's Ragnar who finds the kill, but they lose the tower.
Yeah, sadly, there's no cross-map in place from Heretics. That would have made that a little bit more worth it if you were pushing in that mid lane, maybe pressuring that mid lane out of turret. That would have been more value for that. It's not the best stats possible for Aibo. Talks about how the Gwen could really have an important game in this one. Sat 2,000 gold down against his opposing number. Sadly, not going to be the cleanest game for him.
Yeah, just felt like the cross map was half present, was very it's a bit of a given, right? I think it's more about actually having a slightly more impactful one. That being said, 2 items already. It's very having that many kills. Extra gold is always going to go the distance. 2.7k up on Toucouille right now. And we will continue to distract what exactly he's able to do. It does feel a little bit bad, but forego at least finding something on the map whilst they are a little bit behind on their ability to actually have a presence.
Okay, so you have used, however, a Malphite ult towards that top side, and if you have one top laner, which is stronger than the other, if both of them are down ults, that definitely favors the one with the top lane who's a little bit weaker at that point. Actually, there is going to be a cross map for this one because they say, you know, we're not going to win that Herald fight, but we might be able to put Aibo into an even worse position here.
Oh, poor Aibo. Meanwhile, Zwyroo is able just to like take towers and gold for free while Aibo suffers.
I was just like, hey, that's a lot of people moving down there. Surely they're not going to dive him again. They choose not to at that point. Herald goes down. What are you going to use this for now, though? You can use that for a mid lane outer turret push. That typically tends to be the best use of second Herald.
You know, you said Maokai is the Gimpy
tree. Yeah.
Is that bush up there with 3 saplings in it? The Gimpy bush? Well, there's 2 saplings now.
How about we see if someone steps into it and we see what happens after that point?
I mean, to be fair, it's, you know, it's not 13-1, 13-2 Maokai where it's like full AP and you get one shot by the saplings anymore.
That wasn't fun.
Honestly, it was pretty. It was
fun to be the Maokai. It was
really,
not fun to be not the Maokai.
Unbalanced. Yeah, it was really unbalanced.
Highest I saw was the 8,000 damage team fight we had once.
Do you know what it actually was? It was the kickoff event where I think it was Tarzan that played it, and he had like 20k more damage than everybody else on the scene. Now, obviously, it was a meme game, but it was somewhat serious. But the fact that he had 20,000 more damage than basically everyone in the game was so hilarious.
One of those builds which kind of like makes its way in from ARAM when everyone's kind of built stuff up. We saw APK Kai'Sa with that.
Yeah.
We saw there's also Lethality Jinx, which I hope never sees the light of day as well. But I was a fan of that one. We do have a Jinx on this Rift. And it's still going to be pretty terrifying.
I'll raise you one more crazier build for Jinx. AP Jinx. The traps have AP scaling.
All right, let me take the headset for you, buddy. You're done.
So, Jamada, how are you feeling about this Duocast?
Yeah, this Duocast is going great, mate.
That's ARAM only, by the way, just to be clear.
Well, we are currently ARAMing as the Herald's put down here. Again, best use of second Herald has typically been try and take that mid lane outer turret off the board. It's fairly telegraphed though. Geo, they have themselves an angle. Lyncas no flash.
Oh, lovely Lantern. Just to make sure they're getting away. Are they going to go for this? Another hook comes up, but forces Jezu to use the Gwen. They got a teleport coming in on the flank. This is the fight. Lyncas already low HP, spinning around. That was his clone. Jezu is trying to get the damage off, but that is going to be so much damage coming out, and that is a huge Jinx fight here for Flakked. He gets himself a triple kill. The Herald stays alive as well. And Heretics, they are back in form on game number 2.
This play just breaks open the game, doesn't it? Flakked, 3 kills. Ivo gets involved finally on the rest of the map, being bullied for a majority of the game, but still very much relevant. The Herald won't get its next charge, but for Heretics, this is now a play where they should be able to reset, go back towards the Dragon, and look to pick up their 3rd of the game.
Yeah, so this is a fairly, again, obvious play when you have the second Herald. That mid lane outer turret was always going to be the factor. Jezu blowing cleanse early because of another great hook opens up Heretics to go forward again. Marlon seriously enabling his team.
Yeah, not only that, the fact that Ivo goes onto Lyncas, I was a bit skeptical about it at first, but the fact that he does it actually stops Lyncas from ever pressuring Flakked at the same time. So Flakked gets the free hit, Ivo still gets a target to murder, and everyone's happy, and it just feels terrible for Team Geo. And we'll see now as everyone returns back to the map. Marlon takes us. No problem. As everyone returns back to the map, what exactly the priorities are going to be. Heretics straight to the Dragon. It seems like Team Geo just trying to build a little bit of a fort of vision on the top side.
One thing as well, so sometimes we see most likely we tend to see the Hurricane coming out of Jinx. It's actually the Phantom Dancer. It gives you, of course, ghosting when you start building up that passive, and it also gives you a lot more movement speed when you get those 4 auto attacks in a row. Flakked has a lot more kiting ability with this, and as we said, a lot of the team fights have been, I mean, we saw Ivo kind of deny Lyncas backline access. You don't get on the backline, you don't get on Ivo, you don't get on Zwyroo, you don't get on Flakked. Heretics win these fights. They have so much gold in pocket, it's going to be even worse, 5,000 gold advantage, and that Phantom Dancer for me is intelligent itemization to allow Flakked an extra degree of safety.
Yeah, if that wasn't enough, I will go back to the point of Gwen is kind of still a bit unkillable here, and she's really far behind. So Team Geo have a lot on their plate. Talk about maybe a couple of comeback mechanics. You have to remember they have a lot of strong team fighting elements. So it's never like it's over. If they can find Flakked, if they can find Zwyroo, they will be able to pick up some of that shutdown golden with things like Malphite into so much CC, it could be really good.
And of course, no cleanse on Flakked. Renata Glasc hits that. All those great items, they're hitting your team instead.
And I think that all just boils down to what we said at the beginning. It's about setup. It's about finding those chokeholds and punishing them off the back of that. At the moment, it's been so hard for Team Go to get set up in those chokeholds because Heretics have just had just a really, really solid grit on when they want to go for an objective. They've already been setting up for like a minute or so leading up to that, which then makes it even harder for Team Go, who are behind in gold and behind in power, to even find that pressure. Now, Lantern comes out. They were thinking about chasing on for a kill. They're bringing Flakked in. He's going to throw down the ultimate, actually, but they do get a whole bunch of damage off of the Marlon. One member caught into the hook. Marlon doesn't miss, and Flakked's able to find a kill with the getting excited here. He's going to keep the pressure on, and that is another kill. 2 easy kills.
Perfect timing 2 seconds before Baron spawns. Lyncas is alive, has Smite. Yeah, they're pushing in across the board, or Team Geo across the rest of it, but you've just lost 2 members before that Baron spawns. I'd imagine Heretics are going to control this area, maybe look to bait Team Geo into them again.
Maybe, but I just feel, yeah, Marlon, Ivo, bodyguards, Lyncas, even try. He's got D-point.
Oh, he's doing damage!
All right, fair enough. Kills off Marlon, but still dies, and objective complete. Marlon won't get Baron buff, but the rest of Heretics will.
And look how clean Heretics are when they have a clean early game. Game 1 felt like they were sucker punched. They never really managed to stabilize, and they had some good moments in these late game team fights. When they have a lead, they look creative, they look very on the same page, and particularly when you have bluerzor and Marlon with a degree of safety to kind of go forward, look for the hooks, look for the playmaking, this team looks good.
Yeah, maybe you just don't need cleanse if you have a really good front line, I guess. Flakked eats the full brunt.
Cleanses for people hit by CC.
Exactly. I mean, he did get hit by it in this case, I guess. But either way, very happy to just walk forward because he knows no one's threatening him on the backline. And again, it plays in part, like you mentioned, because of Marlon, because of bluerzor. And Heretics, they can just look towards the map now. I like that we're not seeing a 3-lane open, just because that is how you get picked off. 4 into the mid lane, Zwyroo on the top side, just to ensure that the shove-in can be confirmed as they start to set up vision. Maokai is so good at just controlling the area here. Now Team Geo really have to try and find a bit of a flank angle, really, I suppose. Something that really is going to catch Heretics off guard. Otherwise, they can just continue to keep the game at this pace, and they can run this home to a 1-1.
Yeah, and despite them having teamfight tools, I think again it comes down to a perspective of what they can do with that as well. You got to catch a lot of people with those teamfight tools.
Yeah.
I think just catching the one person, even if you catch Flakked, I think there's enough damage elsewhere to make things a very dangerous team fight. And while you're looking for them, you're under risk as well.
I mean, it's a triple carry team. You've got the Gwen, you've got the Jayce, you've got the Jinx. It has to be multiple people. If you can get a twofer, then you might be in a good enough position. The problem right now is, look at Jezu's items versus Flakked's items. He's just got his second item on that base. But Flakked, you know, he's building towards that that Infinity Edge. Lyncas is trying to stop the wave from crashing, and Ivo is just playing a little dancing game with him here. But the problem is, his top side is under some serious sieging right now. So there's a teleport coming in from Ragner. He's looking for a flank.
It's right behind everybody. Who's he going to hit?
Missed hook. Going on Flakked with the flash! Not going to get hit today! And everybody else is locked in place. Flakked is free to fire onto Zwyroo because he has been hit by the ultimate, but Marlon lands another hook. And that's 3 members down. The flash away from the rocket to close it out. But Flakked, he's not done. He's chasing onto Jezu. That's going to be the flash out from Jezu. And it is an open base at this point.
It's another game with the late game AD carry. The flak cannons online, firing at all cylinders. Team Geo, they're blown away at the top in him.
Absolutely they are, and Heretics should just be able to end the game here. 15-second death timers or more on the whole top side. It's just Jezu, just Kamilius against 5 members of Heretics. And nothing is going to save you from the rampaging Armada, and they will go 1-1 in the series.
That is an incredibly fast-paced game as well from Heretics. They strike back fast and hard in this game number 2, equalizing out the score between these two. And that was just an absolutely killer performance.
And what a difference between Game 1 and Game 2 as well. I mean, we did have a bit of a chat about, you know, some great, powerful names in the coaching rosters of both of these teams and both these organizations. They know each other, they've worked with each other before in different degrees. And looking at how suddenly, top lane, not nearly the same factor as before. Mid lane, a huge shift with that Jayce going over from one side to the other, adds another degree of difficulty into this draft. Is suddenly Jayce the priority pick?
Yeah, it has to be, I think. 2 games where it kind of pops off like that. I think the other thing silently, even though it wasn't necessarily the main focus, because, I mean, Flakked was really fed, there was a Jinx. I think silently, the fact that Ivo was still so relevant whilst basically having a lot less gold than the Malphite also made things really difficult because he still always had a target to 1v1. And it felt to me as if Team Geo just frankly didn't have a consistent enough lane to play through. The only position where they could have actually looked to abuse was the mid jungle in the early stages. They didn't really do it that much. They did it like once, but there was still the turnaround play at the back end, which cost them the dragon either way. So I think for Team Geo, a little bit of revision on where exactly they can focus and how quickly they actually look to do it.
Well, this time it is now onto Team Geo to find that comeback, as we are going to throw it over to the analyst desk to break that game number 2 down.
We have a really important message on the analyst desk. It's been a message that we've been sharing throughout this week, and it's been a message that at some point we hope teams can decipher.
It's not funny anymore. It's just not funny.
It's just... You ban the Lissandra. You give him the Jayce, and the Jayce goes 4-0.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like Jayce is just such an uncounterable champion in the mid lane that if you don't shut him down with mid-jungle synergy, I feel like he's more than able not only to win his lane on his own, but he's just so powerful in these skirmishes in the river. His Shock Blast is so powerful. His melee form is so powerful. He synergizes well with both the Esther junglers that were open, the Sejuani and the Maokai for more skirmishing. This is why the Lissandra ban that came out from GO really confused me because I'm like, using the Jayce, you can very easily shut him down with the Lissandra X jungler combo.
Yeah.
With the Lissandra ban, surely you have answers in the Lissandra. Toucouille can play anything, right? You have so many standard answers you could potentially go for. You know, the Silas, the Swain is another one that's really, really good. But yeah, really uncharacteristic loss to me. So many things in terms of gameplay too, which were just questionable. Some picks, like why didn't Kamilius lock in the Blitzcrank? Maybe you're concerned about priority and your Wukong getting invaded, but it's not really going to happen, is it, versus a Maokai? So I'd much rather have Kamilius on something that's very engage heavy. We saw him on the Rel, right? But into Thresh, you had a perfect blitz angle, I feel like. So why not?
Because not every hook is a good hook.
Yeah!
And they took note
That's
of
a good
that.
one.
But when we're looking at the hooks that Marlon was landing, this guy was having the game of his life. It's been so impactful through the entirety of the game.
Yeah, I mean, you could see blind hooks being landed, like, with the face checking
was
Renata.
crazy.
No, it was really, really cracked. And that's the problem I feel like I had with Team Go's composition. And here, this is exactly what I mean. This is so uncharacteristic, because usually Team Go is probably one of the best Rift Herald teams in the entire tournament. And they're voluntarily taking a 3 versus 4, because you can see that Kamilius is nowhere to be found. He's on the Renata, slowly waddling up, but he doesn't make it in time. And I believe what Team Go probably were trying to do was make a quick play to burst a target and get out with that Rift Herald, but just doesn't work that way.
I agree. Completely uncharacteristic. They usually play as a 5-man towards the top side of the map. But when you have the Zeri towards the board, you just want to leave her to farm or give her the tire platings. They didn't go for one or the other. I think it was mostly the indecision of the bot lane staying and then the support not roaming. And then honestly, after the triple kill on Jayce, he already had 4 kills. Every single skirmish, every single route the Maokai lands is going to be a massive Shock Blast. And honestly, it was very disheartening to just see Geo slowly bleed out because just ran out of options.
Yeah, they just kept losing fight after fight, and none of this is to take away how good Heretics played. They played really well, damn near flawless, right? Because you could just see they were running out of options. Team Geo were just running out of options over and over again in all these team fights, and then last flash. Flakked from
You know
far.
what? It's one thing flashing to the side. It's one thing flashing, over a wall. But flashing through that damn ult is just very impressive. Again, Flakked is one of the best teamfight AD carries that we have at EMEA Masters. I found him one of the best teamfight AD carries over in the LEC as well. And I think he's shining here when he's given the platform to play.
We highlighted him early in the pregame, but I think also one of the things that this time around you want to talk about, Aragon, because you are our shiny top lane pro player, is the fact that Ragner was ahead what felt like the entirety of the game on the rest of the top lane, even though it was a Malphite into a Gwen.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so it depends what else you've got prepped as your answer into the Jayce flex. They clearly wanted like Malphite or Sion, they were hovering it. But then the problem is you pick Malphite for Ragnar, who's your best performing lane, and you often play for him. You can see Lyncas is desperately trying to path towards there to punish a flashless top laner too. He had Ghost Flash on the Gwen. Unfortunately, a Malphite just doesn't carry teamfights the same way as another pick, a carry pick. So I really do think you ban out the Jayce, if anything, so that you don't have to pick Malphite into it and hold that Malphite as a counter to the flex.
Yeah, and I also feel that the draft that they have right here from the side of Geo is just so obvious. It's 3 melee champions that all 3 want to dive and throw literally their bodies in your face. This is very well easily read with the roots coming in from Maokai, with Gwen sitting right in front of you in her bubble, Thresh being able to relocate whoever is in danger. So I feel like the draft was very well prepared from the side of Heretics, and it countered completely what the other side from Geo wanted to do.
It feels a bit the complete opposite of what we've seen last game, right? Last game, it was Team Geo go from the get-go. They were just on it. They were able to snowball. They got pick after pick after pick. They got the gold lead, absolutely astronomical lead. But now we're going on to that second game. Heretics, they're onto their plans, and they found the way to deal with it. So going into the third game, it needs to be another flip script where Team Geo find out the secret to deciphering that message.
And once again, I'm going to say it every single post game, it's so hard to do draft against Team Geo or Team Heretics because they play so many flexes, and you're going to have to leave up one thing, whether or not it's Jayce or Annie or something else that's broken.
Please, man. Malphite is your highest damage dealer in this game. Like, what more can this man do from the top lane, you know? He's put in a counter matchup. He's supposed to lose it. Lyncas plays towards him. But because of the kills went towards the Malphite and not the Wukong, there's only so much that Rock Solid Man can do from the top side. And unfortunately, I'd like to see Ragner, if they're going to play towards him, as you mentioned, on more aggressive picks, like the Cannon, like maybe the Gwen himself, the Rumble that was banned away. Pick something earlier on. Make sure you have banned the counter picks over on the second ban rotation, and maybe try to play for the guy who has the most damage on a tank.
I felt like as well Team Geo was trying to go for that. They were still trying to set up Ragnar as much as they possibly could. They got the first blood with that gank early on, but they weren't able to capitalize off of it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the best they did was try to re-dive afterwards, right? They were trying to re-dive a Gwen, and they just didn't have the base damage. I think that's the big theme. If you fall behind with these topside picks, you just run out of damage, right? The Malphite, the Gragas, these are very slow champions that, for example, Gragas relies on the Rod of Ages scaling. Top lane Malphite, he's only going to do so much, and then by the time you get to mid-game, you just can't get any kills, because that's where you've indexed all your gold to.
Yeah, but also because Marlon is everywhere. Wherever you turn your head to, Marlon is already ready, landing some incredible hooks, and it's allowing the rest of the team to move with them, and they're just getting picks left, right, and center. And Geo had it felt like no answer to the rotations on the map.
I feel like what was really impressive was that this time it wasn't just Marlon roaming the map alone like we usually see. I think it was Flakked sort of hovering behind the whole time with the Jinx. They would leave him down, but he has the rocket. He got a snipe kill towards the top side of the map, the Rift Herald. Then they would play towards mid lane. You would see Flakked would push in the wave, try to roam and rotate towards that mid lane. So even though Marlon was making the first move, because that Jayce was so strong, Flakked made sure that he is hovering around for the rotations, because you take one kill, that Jinx and Jayce combo is so powerful enough to take a 20-minute dragon, to take that mid lane tower pre-14. So very great rotations, great early kills. What's really bothering me is that in these 2 days that we've had best of fives, we've seen extremely snowbally games that none of the teams was able to bring back. And that's due to either you're lacking the CC to lock down the target of interest, or two, you're just lacking the damage.
Well, Heretics found a way to bounce back into Game 2, making us an equal score of 1-1 for both of these teams. Who's going to be in the lead after this little break? I guess we're going to have to find out.
You're gonna make it! Are you sure? You're gonna make it, dude! Come on! Work with me here! Work with me! We're nearly there! We're nearly there! Come on, let's go!
Oh, Trev. Help.
Mark, you've done too much, dude. What can I get you?
Give me that.
Even the biggest champ needs a break.
Are you guys being weird again?